Shalom. I am Rabbi Nathan Davidovich, speaking to you on behalf of the webyeshiva.org, speaking to you from Efrat, Israel. I'm going to speak about one important event that occurs in this week's Torah reading, the reading of the Parsha of Shemot. In this Parsha we have the event of Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, who has left Egypt, running away from the king Pharaoh, and ends up in the desert as a shepherd for his father-in-law. And he's in the desert one day and he sees a bush, a little thorn bush, a small bush that is burning. Excuse me, it's burning and it's not being consumed. And he goes closer to see it, and he's frightened of it. He says, what's going on here? And then God begins to speak to him from the midst of the bush. And God tells him to take off your shoes. The land that you're standing on is holy land. And this, in fact, was the location where the Torah was ultimately given on Horeb and Mount Sinai. And God tells Moshe that I have seen the suffering of my people in Egypt, and I want you to be the catalyst, to be the messenger to Pharaoh to let my people go. And Moshe's arguing with God. He says, you can certainly choose somebody more eloquent than me to speak, but God says, no, you have to go. He ultimately says you can use your brother Aaron to help you. Anyway, what do we learn from this? There's a number of things that are learned from this concept of the burning bush. First of all, the question is asked by the Netivot Shalom. Why, if God saw the suffering of our people of Israel, why did he wait so long? Why did he wait until they were almost sunken into the lowest level of defilement, the 49th level of Tumah, 49th level of defilement? Why wasn't it before? And Netivot Shalom says very interesting. He says it's compared to a seed that you're planting in the ground to grow something. Before it can grow, the seed has to completely disintegrate, almost completely disintegrate. So all that's left of the seed is what the Netivot Shalom calls the kusta dechiyusa, the seed of life, the seed of life. And the Bnei Israel, the people of Israel, had to get to the point where they were worthy of coming out of Egypt and as a new people. And God made this happen. He gave the Jewish people the opportunity, and he brought them out of Egypt. The Torah tells us, the Meforshim tell us, that Bnei Israel were only redeemed from Egypt because of their Emunah, because of their faith in God. And he says the Emunah, what we learn from this is that Emunah in God is the kusta dechiyusa. It is the spark that gives us life. In any situation that we see, we might think that we can't get out of a situation. This kusta dechiyusa of Emunah, the level of Emunah that we have, will get us through all situations. And God tells Moses, he says, I have seen the suffering of your people. And what does that mean? So Netivot Shalom points out that God is telling Moses, you see only one thing. You see the suffering of the people. I see two things. You can only see the outer aspect of what is in front of you, but I see the inner aspect. And God tells Moshe, that in seeing this inner aspect, I in fact am aware of the truth of the matter, of what's going to happen. So many times when we look at something, we think we know what it's all about. We look at a difficult situation, we look at tragedy, we look at pain, and we think, well, this is horrible, and I can't see any purpose in it. And God is telling Moshe that despite the pain, you're only looking at the outer covering, the outer aspect, not the true inner thing. And the fire burning in this bush, the bush, of course, the thorn bush, is the smallest of things. It's one of the smallest trees. It's not a tree, it's a bush. And telling us that we can have this fire, this internal fire of Emunah, of faith in God, even in the lowliest place that we are. As Davidovich says, King David says, Min ha'makim im ha'makim karasicha Hashem, I have called to you from the depths. We know as a Jew we can always call to Hashem, call out to God from the depths of our troubles, and God will answer us. And we have to understand that sometimes what we think we see, we think we may see a bush, and it's just a bush that's on fire. But oftentimes we are not seeing the inner aspect of the thing. And a story is told by the Baal Shem Tov of a king who had a great treasure, and he wanted to test the subjects in his kingdom. And he said that here's this treasure. Anybody that can come through the obstacles that I've placed is entitled to the treasure. So the obstacles that he placed weren't real physical obstacles. He did illusions. He placed a number of illusions so people would come up and try to enter the palace. And this elusive barrier, wasn't a real barrier, but they thought it was, would stop them. One might jump over this elusive barrier and find another barrier. And nobody was able to get there until the son of the king came. And he said, I know that these barriers are not real. These barriers are not real, and I can jump right over them because they're just there as a test. So too, God gives us tests, gives us barriers. We have to be able to look through the barriers and remember that we are only seeing the outside and not the inside. And if we understand, also in this parsha it says, B'nei Bechuriata, you children of Israel are my firstborn. We are children. So just like the child of that king in the story was able to jump over all the obstacles, so too we, with the power of Emunah, with the power of faith in God, can overcome any obstacles that are placed in our way. We also learn from the fact that the bush is burning and is not consumed, that so too the children of Israel, even though they are subjected to all kinds of horrible things, thank God we have lived. God keeps us alive as a nation all of these years. We are not consumed. And we have to have that emunah, that no matter what happens, God will come to our aid. God will not let us down. God will always look out for us. And I ask and I wish that all of us should have a burning desire of our closeness to Hashem. Let us approach our prayers to Hashem with a burning within us, not as a matter of rote, but with a burning like a flame going up, and like a flame that goes up to the highest heavens. That is within our power, to have that Aish within us, to be able to know that God is with us, to have the faith and the Emunah that God will save us in everything we do. Thank you for listening on behalf of the webyeshiva.org. I wish everybody a wonderful Shabbat, and we'll and have a good week, the rest of the week and next week, and let's hear Besorot Tovot. Let's hear good tidings. Shabbat Shalom.